Now, big game from the Black Ferns. They looked far better against Japan, I think. Like, it was a far more solid outing, wasn't it, Brynner? Against Japan, it was a good win, a solid win, 62-19, but there was something about the way that they were composed and the way that they attacked that was up a level.
Yeah, and look, I think it's just that first game in a World Cup first game, probably not playing for a long time, and that clunkiness, probably you're going to get that in that first game. And it was probably a little bit like that within the first 10 minutes, a few errors and a couple of penalties to be able to get Japan to score that first try. But look, I think I was really impressed with their kicking game. Now, it looked like on screen that there was a big win in that fixture, and you know, we would love to be able to think against a Japanese side we'll be able to want to try use the ball, being able to use our brute strength and being able to try physically dominate them, which we did at times. But I really enjoyed the kicking game from Demont. Got some really good pay and put in some backfield pressure on that Japanese side. And I think, like I said, I think that first try that I saw, Georgia Miller, they're getting their players in the right opportunities to be able to try and influence the game. Like I touched on it earlier around her being able to work through with the backs and being able to be an option in that kind of 13-11 area defensively for the Japanese. So yeah, it was really impressive. Probably the success rate as well. Like Jip touched on it a lot in terms of what their percentage was. I think they had 15 entries for 10 tries. So you know that effectiveness and that ability to be able to be better in that space was really impressive in terms of those areas, which I saw on the weekend.
Yeah, I think they're building. Is probably the biggest point. It was definitely a step up in accuracy. I think they'll get better and better, but like sometimes we get fixated on, they haven't played much footy, but it just shows obviously a few more training runs because they did change a lot of personnel. So it was a relatively new team, but there was a lot, I suppose, higher accuracy in and around the catch pass area and finding the space. I think probably the most impressive for me was the 7 breakdown steals and defensively tackling it 95%. Now, why I say that is because obviously yellow cards, down numbers, on the goal line defence was really strong. And I suppose the growth that they need to see in that is the physicality in that 95%. Because England and the French and the Irish and the Canadians will be a little bit more direct than the Japanese side, and you're going to have to stop them cleanly. But positive signs in terms of that accuracy. To be able to be that accurate against a well-drilled Japanese side is strong. I agree with you. I think the 10 tries out of 15 entries is strong, but there was one penalty conceded for obviously turnovers through handling errors. Now that 15 against England is probably going to go down to 3 or 4.
Yep.
And that's where that ruthlessness against Ireland and whenever they progress to, 66% is good. I'm not saying they have to go at 100%, but out of the 3 or 4 they get, they probably need 3.
Yep.
That 75% mark. So they're not far off, but I just think those are the growth areas of the game. And then line out is still 72%. They'd want to lift that accuracy against, and I keep referring to England because let's be honest, like they from the last World Cup, they seem to have lifted. Like that's hurt the program in terms of losing that final the way they did it and the dominance they had shown with 26 consecutive wins. And there's just a bit of grit between their teeth, and you know that it's going to take, a pretty big effort to topple them.
They were truly impressive against Samoa. The best part of that game was when Samoa kicked that goal and the celebration, how they felt kicking that goal, but they were just relentless, and they've got strike weapons and they didn't have them all on the field, and it looked absolutely amazing. Yeah,
again, like a lot of adjustments, but that's what I mean. Like there just seems like that. Not a lot of celebrating.
No.
Like
they're on a mission.
Edge.
They're on a mission.
There's just
a mission.
Determined. I don't know. Like it just you talk about distraction and disruption. Like to beat them, you're going to have to get them on the game or draw them into. Like your Dane Coles and your Brodie Retallicks. Like you said, draw them into a bit of a tussle or try and take their focus of what they're trying to do. Because if you don't distract them, they seem pretty methodical in what they're doing.
Yeah. And of course, the line-out drive is their specialty. Japan did pretty well in that area.
Good specials.
I think,
They had some good specials, and this is what happens. Like, and we can't just assume England are going to go to a drive or France because they perceive they've got a strength there. Because what normally happens is when it's a weakness, you're geared up for it. Like you're down, you're ready. speaking from experience, and you're like, they are not going to drive through us. But that creates opportunity with these little special plays that Japan put in. So I think the Black Ferns have just got to be mindful that they have the ability to just nail their role within the system, and what's thrown at them means they can adjust on the run.
Yeah.
So I actually think the Japanese did them a favour in terms of their growth and development in that maul space, because it just shows you can't assume. The moment you assume is the moment that someone will be able to manipulate you.
Yep. Ireland will have learned the same lesson, because they got caught with a few of those specials themselves, didn't they, against Spain? Like, I wasn't expecting to see what we saw in that game from Spain against Ireland.
Yeah, again, I think they showed moments. Sorry, I'm dominating.
No,
this.
getting really done.
I think they showed moments against the Black Ferns. Again, I think they probably just knew they've got nothing to lose, you know, in the Spanish. And there's also an expectation, because Ireland bet the Black Ferns, it's almost like building towards, and for them, that expectation maybe just making them tighten a little bit, maybe it just restricting their ability to play. I mean, I sound like I don't know what they're thinking, but it just looks like that. It just looked a little bit restricted. And that created opportunities for the Spanish to sort of feed off that and just chance their own, and that they did.
Yeah, and I think for the Irish side, knowing that that's probably the big part of that pool game, like, you know, the Black Ferns are so experienced, right, in terms of like what's required of them on a week-to-week basis when going into a Rugby World Cup, you know, World Cup. So, yeah, that tightness and being able to probably see what's on the horizon with the Black Ferns coming. But I think the best thing is that our draw has been really good for us. We've been able to have a couple of games to be able to fine-tune a few things and look at how probably hasn't been the opposition that we want, but you can't underestimate game time and being able to play 80 minutes, being able to play 50 minutes, 60 minutes, and being able to get those runs on the league in a different environment, a different country, experience kind of what it is to be in England and being able where they are playing to do that. So look, I think our draw has been really good for us, and I think, I think it's going to be good for us.
It's a hard 23 to pick. You know, like there was strong performances both of those pool games for the Black Ferns, like, and that's what you want, you know. And I think, you know, you talk about the Irish and the other nations. The one benefit that I suppose the Black Ferns have is they've got players in their environment that have been fully professional for a long time. So the idea of pressure and being, you know, I suppose, nervous or afraid of it just isn't there when you've got players like Porsche and Woodman-Wycliffe, you've got Ruahei Demand, you know, Tukuafu, you name plenty. They've Setafano, like Flula, like those seven skills in particular have just been professional for so long. Like their high standards and expectation is fed across that team, you can see. And then the players that have 15 specialists that won the World Cup, I don't know, there just seems to be a real professional, methodical approach that just looks a little bit different. Now, that may change on game day because they have to beat Ireland. They need to make a statement and make sure that they track in the direction they want. But I get that, to me, seems like a good point of difference, and it's definitely coming through.